Donald Trump and JD Vance just got called out for not caring about working class Americans. Kamala Harris officially secured the endorsement of the president of the United Automobile Workers, Shawn Fain, and he made the rounds on national television today, ripping into Donald Trump and JD Vance for prioritizing themselves, for turning their back on their roots, well, JD Vance's roots, Donald Trump was born rich, and throwing working class Americans under the bus. I have a few clips to play for you today. They are awesome, and I also want to break down two articles. One reads, "Hundreds allege Donald Trump doesn't pay his bills," and I want to compare that to this one that reads, "Biden is the most pro-labor president since FDR. Will it matter in November?" So while Republicans are trying to pin President Biden's record on VP Harris, Democrats are saying, do it. President Biden has an amazing record when it comes to advocating for working class people. Don't just take it from me, take it from Shawn Fain, and leave a like on the video. Watch.
The thing we've done most of all in any election is we look at the body of work between the candidates. And when you put Kamala Harris and Donald Trump side by side, there's a very telling difference in who stands with working class people and who left working class people behind. You go back to 2019 when Donald Trump was president. GM workers were on strike for 40 days. Where was Donald Trump then? What did he do or what did he say about these striking workers? You want me to know what he did? He did nothing.
Nothing at all.
He said nothing. Kamala Harris, she was actually out on the picket line before it was a popular thing to do. She stood shoulder to shoulder with striking workers to say, I got your back. And you go further. Lordstown, Ohio, multiple plants closed in this country when Donald Trump was president. Donald Trump told workers in Lordstown Assembly in Ohio, don't sell your houses. You want to know what he did and what he said afterwards to help change that situation? He did nothing.
Nothing. Donald Trump has shown a repeated pattern of doing nothing, not caring, not helping working class people when needed.
Workers in Lordstown got sent all over this country to GM plants, and their lives were wrecked. And you want to know what Kamala Harris and the Biden administration did and their team did? They went to work when they took over the White House. And they actually put a path forward. They located a new battery plant in Lordstown, Ohio. And now under Harris and under Biden, those workers are moving back home now. That were dislocated under Trump. So, Trump's been all talk for working class people. You look at inflation. One of the biggest issues facing this country is inflation. Yeah. It's not policy driven. It's driven by corporate greed and consumer price gouging, and that's what Donald Trump stands for.
Well said. Incredibly well said. I also have a clip of him ripping into JD Vance. It is an amazing clip, but first, I think we should highlight a few accomplishments from the Biden administration. It's fun to watch JD Vance get torn into, but let's read this article that says, the president is winning over union leaders, but not necessarily rank and file voters. And it talks about the discrepancy between winning over people like Shawn Fain and winning over the people that work under Shawn Fain who may not understand that inflation is not caused by Biden's policy. Sometime next year, the Ford Motor Company will begin to produce electric trucks at Blue Oval City, a sprawling manufacturing complex in an impoverished rural area in western Tennessee. The multi-billion-dollar project, which received a federal loan through the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act that President Biden signed in 2021, has already created thousands of construction jobs that pay substantially more than locals are accustomed to earning. Landing a job at Blue Oval City, quote, changed my life, one worker said. We already have one talking point that we can use against MAGA people who say that Biden has been terrible for the economy. And this isn't just one project. There are projects that are sprouting up all over the country and that have been for years that are creating thousands of jobs. As a report published by the Center for American Progress noted, these workers were hired under a project labor agreement, a collective bargaining contract that requires construction projects to pay employees union-level wages and benefits. The article details how Biden fails to receive any credit for implementing these policies in Tennessee, and that state will likely go to Donald Trump. But these projects could have enormous consequences in battleground states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, to the point of deciding the election. In 2016, the defection of many blue-collar voters and union members in those states was arguably the decisive factor in Hillary Clinton's defeat. Biden clearly understands this. When he traveled to Michigan last fall to support the UAW UAW, who Sean Fain is the president of, we'll get back to that in 1 second, he was clearly seeking to set himself apart from not only Trump, but also from Democratic leaders, who took the support of organized labor for granted. Quote, "You deserve what you've earned, and you've earned a hell of a lot more than you're getting paid now," Biden proclaimed. And this takes us back to Sean Fain, who was giving a ringing endorsement of Biden on primetime news. This one was on Face the Nation. This next one is on CNN. Let's watch this and let's absorb it. It's great.
Look, I've got hillbilly roots. My grandparents all come from Tennessee and Kentucky in the hills, and they were dirt poor. They went through the Great Depression. They migrated north like many families did back in those days in the 30s and 40s. And, my grandparents, my family members were able to get jobs at UAW factories at GM and Chrysler, and they lived the American dream. But one thing my grandparents taught us growing up, and my parents taught us, was you never forget where you come from. And, J.D. Vance, went to work with a venture capitalist and, a billionaire. And obviously those people they have no concern for working class people. They have no concern for businesses they take over and pillage and rip apart and tear communities apart. So while he can claim he's for the working people, I mean, his body of work shows different. Look, I've got...
J.D. Vance has over and over turned his back on his roots, whether it's him railing against the same elitist universities that he built his career off of, or whether it's his transgender friend feeling like he is totally against her existence years after they were best friends. But after I read this article about Biden being historically pro-labor, let's read what Donald Trump did very quickly. Donald Trump casts himself as a protector of workers and jobs, but a USA investigation finds hundreds of people, carpenters, dishwashers, painters, even his own lawyers, who say he didn't pay them for their work. Donald Trump often portrays himself as a savior of the working class who will protect your job, but a USA Today network analysis found that he has been involved in more than 3,500 lawsuits over the past 3 decades. How is that humanly possible? How is it possible to have 3,500 lawsuits for shorting workers, and a large number of those involve ordinary Americans, everyday Americans, like the Friels, who say Trump or his companies have refused to pay them? At least 60 lawsuits document people who have accused Trump and his business of failing to pay them for their work, among them a dishwasher in Florida, a glass company in New Jersey, a carpet company, a plumber, painters, 48 waiters, dozens of bartenders and other hourly workers at his resorts and clubs coast to coast, real estate brokers who sold his properties, and ironically, several law firms that once represented him in these very suits. The one constant in all of these cases is Donald Trump refusing to pay people who do work for him, and he has admitted that on stage. He has said, after a teleprompter fell over, "I'm not paying the company who provided this work," even though they had already done the work and Trump had promised to pay them. That is not a business practice that people follow. Donald Trump then went on a rant at same rally about how he often doesn't pay people if they do crappy work, but that is just not how things work, and Donald Trump doesn't realize that. But it was great to see Sean Fain, the president of the United Auto Workers, endorse VP Harris, give a ringing endorsement, and also take down Donald Trump at the same time for only caring about himself and slipping in a little punch at JD Vance at the same time. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like, comment a blue heart, hit that subscribe button. We are building a beautiful community heading into this election, and I'd love to have you here with us. I'll see you in the next video, and peace out. Have a great day.